We have a new segment for WAN Show. The segment is called This Was Not a Video. So as part of our, this is something that we had already started before the week of introspection, as I've come to call it. But we have a new process for doing what's called exploratory testing. And so instead of, we ran into this a handful of times where the labs team would get an assignment or get a project pitch from the writers, and they would basically run through and do all the testing. And then we find out, there really wasn't much of a story there, unfortunately, and we can't really move forward with it, but we've done like all this testing now. And so we made a new sort of process for pitching exploratory testing and setting a much more limited scope to help us answer whether there is something worth exploring.
Thanks, Dan.
Literally wasted paper creating a little thing to put on his little sign that says, "This was not a video." Dan, it's not going to happen every week. It's not part of the regular program. Okay, the point is that we had a concept for a video that in my brain seemed kind of cool. And the idea was, should you disable the iGPU on your CPU in order to free up some power budget to get better CPU performance? Because we know that modern chips can be so power and thermal constrained that any little bit, a few extra watts of idling GPU could potentially be problematic. And so what we decided to do was, instead of testing, I think the scope that I saw when I kind of went, holy crap, are we really going to do all this testing without any idea if this is a completely dead end or not, was I think we wanted like 6 different CPUs, 3 AMD, 3 Intel, and then like a whole whack ton of different benchmarks. It's going to be like a week of testing or something like that. And I was looking at it going, okay, hold on a second. Can we just take our most likely candidates, the ones that we think are most power constrained, and then we test those ones and we see if there's any performance to be gleaned. And then if there's something there, well, then we keep digging. We go to the medium power and the lower power ones to see if, actually on those ones, you can just leave it on because they aren't power constrained anyway. So the notes say we recently canned a video on whether, this was inspired by the early behavior from Ryzen 7000's DGPU, where having a display connected caused the CPU to not sleep properly, so it idled with high power consumption. That is fixed now. So our questions were, what performance impact does the iGPU have on the CPU when it's enabled versus disabled? Does the extra power draw and heat generated reduce max turbo speeds or durations? Does this change when a display is connected or disconnected? Does this change when you're using the iGPU's hardware encoder, for example, in a streaming setup? And does a disabled 13400 behave identically to a 13400F, which just doesn't have the iGPU from Intel? So whether they laser it off or whether it's done in firmware or whatever else, however they do that, is there some difference between disabling it yourself and having Intel disable it? So in summary, our exploratory testing showed there was no result. The question has no satisfying answer. There's not going to be, as far as we can tell, a significant measurable difference. And we kind of went, well, it's really hard to make a whole video where from start to finish, it's like, this doesn't matter. Here's all the new ways this doesn't matter. Here's a new scenario where this doesn't matter.
We know the answer ahead of time, too, so this isn't like a voyage of discovery.
Yeah. We don't know for sure 100% that there are no CPUs out there.
Just not that one.
Yeah, we know that it's modern ones are looking like probably not really a thing, and we just. But so there's no video. But I wanted a way to kind of talk about this stuff. Like if we're gonna test them, why don't we at least tell you guys, like, hey, we looked into this and it seems like it might be a dead end. So that's our new segment called "This Was Not a Video," and it was should you use your iGPU? The answer, as far as we can tell, is yes. Go ahead and turn on your iGPU, which is good. Well, I suppose.